Hey everybody, sorry for the big delay in posting content recently. Just kind of been going through a lot of stuff. So I wanted to use the original video that I recorded to kind of follow up the story that I was telling, but I felt like it was going on too long and it wasn't really like a productive type um, discussion. So I decided to go ahead and record this video. And so a lot has occurred between when I actually recorded that video and like right now. And so I guess for this particular video, I'm going to try and keep it in a theme. And, I decided that I should call this video The Realization because to kind of piggyback off the first video, I realized I realized that I wasn't I wasn't the person that I thought I was. And for someone to, I guess on like a very philosophical type level, realize that it's actually kind of scary. I really felt like nobody could understand me or like sympathize with what I was going through. And so I felt very alone. I felt very alone from my family because we were raised in a very Christian environment. And it's hard because I don't behoove the people that I knew would struggle with it, essentially. It was just that I knew what the response would be, and it wasn't going to be anything that was going to be comforting to me or accepting of me or supportive of me. And again, I at this time I was struggling with a lot of guilt because I knew already at this point that my now ex-wife and I were going to separate. And I knew that I would not be able to see my kids as often as I was accustomed to. Obviously, I wasn't going to be in the same house. But also, I knew how much more difficult my life was about to be. And so that terrified me. So, in that moment, that's when I decided that there wasn't a place for me anymore. And I felt suicidal before. When I was a child, I I knew that I wasn't the same. And as I grew, it felt the same. I just didn't feel like anybody understood me. Nobody could understand me because I didn't even understand myself. So, I mean, obviously now I can see that. But it was just a source of constant frustration because I felt like I was just running a race, but I was the only person in it and I was losing. And it's like, how do you deal with a feeling like that? How do you deal with knowing that no matter how well you run, no matter how much effort you put into trying to win, you can't because you already lost. That was the feeling I had. Um, I guess for this part, I'll put a disclaimer on the beginning of the video, but I will be talking about my personal experience with suicide. And, if this is something that you can't handle, please, 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 please just turn off the video, or you can skip ahead. I'll try to put up a timestamp of when I start discussing this and when I'm finished, because I would hate for anybody to kind of have to relive any moments in their own life. So my experience for guess knowing that I was going to at the very least attempt. I was at work and I was getting ready to go to lunch. And I don't know, I just wasn't feeling good that day. Just physically, mentally, I wasn't like in a good state. And so I went to eat, and I sat down, and I was reading just some articles, and I don't even remember exactly what the articles that I was reading were, but I suddenly just started feeling super depressed. And I couldn't shake that feeling. No matter, like trying to find like a funny video to watch or just lighthearted anything, I couldn't find it. So I texted my boss and I told him I wasn't feeling well and I needed to go home. Which I have a really amazing boss, so that was not a huge issue at all. On the way home, I just couldn't. I couldn't fix the feeling in my brain. And it just got worse and worse. And typically on those days, my ex would take our kids to go to practice for taekwondo. And as I was making my way home, I started formulating. How could I do this in the quickest and least painful way? I will say that anyone who says that someone who has attempted suicide is acting very selfishly, you are very wrong. I went through every single emotion known to man during that time. I thought about my kids. I thought about my ex. I thought about my mom, my dad. I thought about my work, about my coworkers, my boss, because we all had a really good relationship with each other. But none of that was enough to stop me from trying. What I didn't realize was my ex did not go to the practice with my kids because the weather was, starting to get bad, and she was concerned about driving on roads because where we lived is kind of just far out. There's a lot of back roads. And so I went home and I saw that they were still there. she was like, "Oh, what's going on?" I was like, I'm just not feeling well." I didn't really say much. I was like, "I'm gonna go lay down. I'm gonna take a nap," because I knew I couldn't do anything right then. The last thing that I wanted to do was to succeed and have my kids find me there. Even thinking about that right now, just it hurts because that wasn't something I would be able to control. But it didn't matter if the thought was rational or logical or if it made sense or it didn't make sense. It didn't matter. I had to do it. So I waited. I think I woke up at like, I don't know, 7 o'clock. And in my mind, I had to prepare the last moments that I was going to have with my family. So I spent time with my kids, even though I wasn't feeling any happiness. I wasn't feeling any kind of joy. But I knew I had to be there for them for this last moment. And they all went to sleep. My ex went to sleep. At this time, we were already sleeping in different areas. So I knew that she probably wouldn't know that I tried. Until maybe like the nighttime of the next day. So I found some medication that I thought would be potent enough, I guess, to try with. I'm not going to say what it is because that doesn't matter. And then I took a bottle of whiskey that I had and drank that afterwards because I was just hoping that it would kind of knock me out and then stop my heart or stop my breathing or something like that. It didn't work. I woke up with what felt like an extreme hangover, which, if you've ever had a hangover, it's already terrible. Combine that with the medication I had taken, I just felt like I couldn't focus. I woke up. I was so mad. I was so mad. So my ex got our kids and came home. I think I really can't remember that day. And obviously I wasn't all there. I said, "Yeah, I wasn't feeling good. I didn't go to work today. I didn't call anybody. I didn't say anything because, like I said, I really thought that I wasn't gonna wake up." So I waited again. I didn't spend any time with anyone because I was kind of numb to everything in that moment. And it reinforced what I had to do. So I waited again, waited until everyone was asleep again. By this time, like, nobody knew what I had tried to do. This time I took another bottle of medication because I had obviously taken the entire bottle of the other one. And I don't even remember how many pills it was. It was probably like 30, maybe 40. I don't know. I didn't really care. I just wanted to take a lot. And I drank behind that. I was so determined to end it. I didn't want to live anymore. What point was there for me? Because at that moment I felt like I was going to live the same life every single day, in and out. What was the point? I was unhappy. I had been on antidepressants because I was seeing my psychiatrist at this time, but we had switched my prescription because I had started taking ADHD medication. So what I had normally been taking, I was weaning off of that and going to a different antidepressant that was supposed to help, like, not have as many interactions. And I think that might have been part of the reason that I reacted the way I did, because I don't think, I mean, obviously I was lowering my previous dose and trying to build up the therapeutic level in the next dose, but I wasn't there yet. And so, like, I was kind of in a middle situation where I didn't really have anything to stop those feelings because my antidepressants had been working really well. So I did all that. I took the bottle and drank behind that. I remember I was standing at the edge of my bed and I said to myself, don't wake up this time. I don't want to wake up. I woke up the next morning, obviously, because I'm still here. And I had people constantly checking on me because apparently my ex had seen me in the middle of the night or something like that, way after I had taken all of it, and became worried because I wasn't breathing as fast. She's a nurse, so she's more than capable of seeing if I was okay or not. I don't blame her for not calling an ambulance or taking me to the hospital or anything like that. I really don't. Because there was nothing that they were going to be able to do besides probably pump my stomach. And I wouldn't have wanted that anyway. So she just kept her eye on me. She didn't sleep the entire night. I was there. And I woke up the next morning and she had left because she had to work. And her mom was there to keep an eye on me because she knew that something had happened. I think she had found the note that I wrote. And that caused her to, like, call her mom to come over and just kind of monitor me when she was gone. I wasn't mad that time. I wasn't mad because for me to try so hard 2 times in 2 days and not to be successful with this must mean that I'm not ready to be gone yet. I won't say it was God or if it was anything like that because I don't necessarily believe that God would care about us like that. But I don't know. I just kind of woke up and existed. Didn't have any feelings, good or bad. I think I took the next day off. I really can't remember the timeline of things. And then I went back to work because I mean, to me, I was fine. I was still alive, but I was fine. I wasn't feeling anything. I followed up with my psychiatrist and we changed my meds back to the ones that we knew worked. Um, and I didn't really think too much about it. But those feelings, I remember those feelings so vividly because I experienced such a large emotional reaction, and I never felt that before. So, for anyone who has ever felt that they need to end their life, that there's nothing for them, I was there. I was there. I was on the edge of the cliff with half of my feet hanging off, and I didn't jump. I wanted to jump, but I didn't. I wouldn't say this then, but I'll say it now. I am so happy I did not jump. When I said suicide is not a selfish act, from the person that isn't trying to do it, it can look selfish. Why would they do that? They're just trying to get out of life. They're trying to get away from all these responsibilities and the lives that they lead. I didn't think about any of that. I only thought about, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to have no purpose in my life. I'm not saying what I did was right. I'm not saying what I did was wrong. I felt like that was what I had to do at the time. When I look back on it now, I don't have any regrets. Even if it had worked, what regret would I have? I would have been gone. Like that was my purpose. It didn't happen that way, but that was what I was trying to do. I look back on it and I use it to learn. I use it to experience and I use it to make myself better. Because I didn't want it to be this negative thing hanging over me. So I used it to be a positive in my life. I used it to adjust my thinking. At this time, I didn't really know that I was transgender. I didn't know that I was about to completely upend my life and everybody around me and their lives. But I knew I had to get to the bottom of it. So we'll talk about that in the next episode. I don't want to make these super long. But if anything, I hope that my experiences and what I'm sharing can be useful to anyone who is struggling with these type of symptoms, who has ever struggled with them. Don't let it be a negative aspect of your life. Don't let it follow you and hound you and make you feel like you are a failure. You are worth living as much as you may not feel it. You are worth it. It's so hard to see it in that moment. Take a step back. No. You have people that love you. You have purpose. You may not have discovered it yet. For me, I didn't discover it for another few weeks. And that took a lot of digging into my own self. I don't want anyone else to feel the way I felt that day. So, I guess for next episode, we can talk about how I got to that moment in my life where I found the joy. The first episode, I called it "Who Am I?" because that was really the question I needed answered at that moment. This one's the realization. The realization of what? The realization that I had something to keep me here. You could say it was also a realization before all that, and knowing that I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have anything worth living for. But again, I don't want it to have a negative connotation. The realization that I had to live. Next episode, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a happy one. Even with all the stuff going on, it's a happy one. So I hope that you will tune in for that one. If you are enjoying my videos, now I have two. Subscribe if you want, just so that way you can get alerted to it. I'm not looking for anything from anyone. I just want to share my story. I feel like this is something I really need to do. And it doesn't matter if 5 people watch it or 5 million people watch it. I am going to be a voice that speaks, even if it's just to myself. So I hope that maybe not this episode, maybe you didn't enjoy having to hear talking about these things, but at least you can learn and be more empathetic towards others. Because that is what our world currently does not have enough of. I will see you guys all, hopefully sooner, as we go deeper into my story. And again, if you love it, if you hate it, let me know. Send me a comment. Be respectful, but I'm always here to learn and to get better. And I will see you all again soon. I love you. Love each other, please.